rear naked choke. Let's get into it. Everything that I've come to realize over the past few years, especially in the past few years when I've really honed my rear naked choking skills, I found arm switching, and that's the replacing of your strangle arm with your non-dominant non-strangle arm, has been the most effective way I've found to break through intelligent defenses to get a proper rear naked choke, whether it's over the chin, under the chin. Best possible setup for me has been the arm switch. So that's covered extensively in my BJJ Fanatics DVDs. I find I'm really the only one talking about those types of offensive hand fights today. I feel like a lot of guys are focusing a lot on arm trapping with their legs. That's great. I think it works, but there's definitely risk there of them underhooking your ankle, hiking you up, and forcing you to attack other submissions, and maybe they roll out. Whatever. It's a great option, but I found this to be more effective for me. Hopefully it will be for you as well. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about arm switches, which is, again, like 101. I think you have to understand what this is if you're going to break through intelligent defenses. We're going to talk about arm switches. We're going to talk about how to properly hold on to a guy's torso using your body triangle. Guys these days are very good at turning escapes, belly down escapes where they go into rotations and they end up either in bottom mount or close guard on top of you. Disaster if you're on their back and they end up escaping like so. So understanding how to properly grip a guy's rib cage, lower back with your legs so that it slows them down enough for you to manipulate your arms in order to threaten a strangle, eliminating too much worry of turning escapes, as well as some more complex arm switches. So you go into your arm switch classic and they start to hand fight more intelligently. What do? How do you follow up guys with good ability to tuck their chin? Maybe they're stocky. Maybe they have really good back defenses. So let's get into it. Let's start here on the underhook side with a topside body triangle. So in my opinion, this is going to be best case scenario for your back control. Okay, for offensive position here, I'd always prefer my top leg here to be closing my body triangle nice and tight across the guy's lower floating rib to his top far hip. I'm going to take my underhook, grab my overhook, and I'm going to try to touch my chin here to my hands as I put a little bit of tension. Not so much tension so that you're going to exhaust yourself, but just enough tension so that if he tries to pull his top hip forward, he's going to run in to my right shin. Okay? If I have no tension here and he starts to push that hip forward, they're going to start to go into turning escapes. It's going to be much more exhausting. You're going to make that first mistake, which is going to lead into much more, mistakes that cascade into his escape. So we're going to hold on tight here. Not too tight that you exhaust yourself, but just tight enough so that there's enough tension. Now his hands are in defensively. He's going to take a post with this hand on my strangle wrist with this thumb. And he's going to have his 4 fingers on my wrist, 2 hands on my strangle arm, which is common and a very reasonable reaction here. Now the first arm switch we're going to go into here is this arm switch 101. This is a classic. We're going to first pinky grip. Okay, I turn my left hand down and out so that I have room for my right pinky and ring and middle finger here to pry his hand off my left wrist. So again, here we start with the seatbelt. We're holding tight. Yeah, he's pushing, he's controlling. Yeah. I pummel, get my pinky grip, and I turn my hand out of the way, and I pry his hand off. And I flip my left hand inside. I take a bit of a bridge so that I can take first my elbow back and then forward. And now I concave my shoulders to make my left arm as long as possible. Okay? Now, once I have my fingers far enough behind his neck, I anchor them on his Rashguard, and I glue my chin and my chest over my hand. Now, simple strangle here if I can. I'll just lift, extract, and strangle. But oftentimes, they're going to fight to get this hand here, up to my thumb line. And they start to pull it down. Good. Now, as they pull it down, you resist. You kind of bicep curl. He's pulling down with his arm. You're pulling up with your arm. And you get stuck about here. His chin's down usually. Yeah, exactly. And you get stuck about here. So you meet in the middle. As you feel this happening, you're going to start thinking arm switch. You tighten up your body triangle and you start to bridge you want both of your bodies flat with the ceiling. You can do this also by going foot to foot, bridging, getting your body up to the ceiling, your chest facing up to the ceiling. Why do you do this? To get weight off your right hand. If you ignore this step, whether body triangle or foot to foot, if you ignore this step, okay, and you just simply go for your arm switch like so, you're taking all of your control, connection to the mat, out of this pocket of space right here where he can turn belly up, and get his back to the mat, and now it's a disaster. Now I have to work really hard to retake the back. So we want to go into this arm switch. Back a little bit. We're in here. From the top, I prime my hand, I bridge, and I start to throw my elbow in. I concave my shoulders, anchor my fingers, but he gets my thumb line. And we're stuck here. His chin's down, and he's got my thumb line, exactly. Now, I have to make sure I don't just rip my hand out, giving him access to the mat. So you could either go foot to foot. Lately, I've been doing this with a body triangle, where I just bridge and roll so that both of our chests face the ceiling. My back is flat, more flat to the mat, and now I have room and time to free my right hand for an arm switch without giving him a clear shot to the mat on my right. So I'm here, I clear my arm, and I park it right here. Now it's time to go back to the right-hand side of the mat. So I use my left bicep here, push his head, and everything, my legs, my left thigh, my body triangle here, everything drives us back to the mat as I replace my left arm strangle with a right arm strangle. So I take my left out of the way, and in one motion I move my head with my hand over to this side. And if you can remember this, try and grab your elbow with your left hand here, like so. Grab your elbow, rest your head on his, extract your left hand, push the shoulder, and then get your hands in for a good rear naked choke. All right, let's see that once again. So we're here. We've taken the back. We fall to the underhook side. Our underhook grabs our overhook. We have a good body triangle locked, and we're working from here. I open my left hand down, so I have room to grab with my right hand, right fingers, and I pry this off, bridge, and then throw my elbow across. Anchor my fingers and work for the strangle. He manages to get up to my thumb, and he wedges his chin, he jams his chin down in there, and he gets my hand down to his shoulder. We're stuck here. All right. Thinking about an arm switch. I need weight off my right hand here, off my right arm. If I just rip my arm out, he's gone to the mat, disaster. So I tighten up the body triangle, or you go foot to foot. Whatever it is, you roll yourselves up so that your back is flat, your chest faces the ceiling. Now, I keep trying to strangle with this arm. I retract, replace, shoot everything back, and now I lift and rest my head on his. I grab my elbow, post the shoulder, and finish through naked with a good arm switch. So what I've done is I've replaced, let's come in here. See here. So what I've done is I start strangling with my left. He gets my left arm. I bridge, so I have room to get this hand off. Now, once this hand's light, I replace my strangle with my right. Retract, push a shoulder, and fit in for a strangle. So the idea, again, is just to get him grabbing the wrong arm. I start strangling and legitimately threatening a strangle with my left. His hands go to my left. I pick him up, re-strangle with my right. His hands are busy with the wrong wrist, and you're going to break through for a strangle. The next sequence here we're going to look at is reliant on you understanding how to use your hooks to create your strangle arm to be the long arm of your seatbelt. So when I'm trying to strangle someone, if I'm behind them here, just sort of artificially up on my knees here, if I'm going to strangle with my left, I need my left arm to be as long as possible. So I have to take a bit of an angle, get my shoulder, okay, the starting part of your arm. I need that starting part to be right here behind his ear. I can't have my shoulder start here behind his neck. My arm is going to be stocky. It's going to be a lot harder for me to get my strangle set. So you need to artificially create that sort of cheating position where your shoulder starts here right behind his ear. You flick like you're throwing a dart. You flick your elbow, and now your arm is much, much longer than it would have otherwise been if you start back here. You need to start, again, with your shoulder here behind his ear, You flick that dart, you throw that dart, flick your elbow. Now, once your strangle is set, then you do the job of retracting your elbow, shortening your arm, tightening up the squeeze. So you have to obviously do that while you're connected to the guy. Use your hooks to get him looking into the strangle so that your arm is as long as possible. You gotta get your shoulder set right there behind his ear. How do we do that? So a bit more complicated of a hand fighting sequence here. Same start. Same start. So we're here. Guys got our defensive hands in play here. Same start. I get my pinky grip. I bridge back a bit and I turn. Okay, this is a bit more of a detailed look at how we get our left arm set here. We turn our elbow, and hollow chest, and we flick our wrist as far as possible. Keep your chin down. Flick our wrist as far as possible. Open up and lock it in with our chin and our fingers. Whatever our fingers can grab, his neck or his rash guard here. We anchor it, gluing our chest to our hand. Now, instead of a body triangle, here what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my left foot inside his top left thigh here as a hook. I'm going to start to bridge and then extract my right foot, post on the mat, and shovel my hips underneath him. Now, what this is doing is getting him to look into my left arm here. So I keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And now, as I throw my left arm in place here, I'm going to start to post the shoulder and set my strangle. If your strangle works here, great, but oftentimes they'll start to get a grip on your left hand here with theirs, exactly, and you get stuck. Once you're here, you put in your right hook and you start to think about arm switching. You let go of this pinky grip and you have your vision right here. You start to think about strangling with your right arm. So you're going to use your fingers to crawl up your wrist. Fingers crawl up until I get to my elbow, and I use my left bicep here to open up his jaw. I move my head to the other side. I grab his neck with my right hand this time, pull him across. I insert a right hook, pull him across, post the shoulder, flick the dart with my right hand, and we fit in a strangle, on the right side. So we start first with a left hand strangle. We pull him all the way across so that our left arm is as long as possible. He still manages to get a grip on our left arm. We again switch. I crawl my fingers up, lift, and pull them back. We'll see that once again. So we're in here with a seatbelt. Okay, let's start with the body triangle. All right. We pummel, get our fingers out of the way, get our hand out of the way so our fingers can grab, and we post. I bridge, flick that dart, get my shoulder right there behind his ear, get my head tight, and get my arm as long as possible. His chin's down, he's got all the defenses in play here. All right, so I need to take him to the left-hand side to get my left arm as long as possible. I put a left hook, and I start collecting. I start hamstring curling him to look towards my left arm. Now, once I feel like I have adequate control here, I touch the mat, and I shovel my hips underneath him. You can push him over with a right thigh, and now I extract, get my hand as deep as possible, extract my right hand, post a shoulder, and finish a strangle. If that works, great, but sometimes what will happen is they'll still manage to get your wrist and tuck in their chin. Good. So what I do is I extract my right arm, and now I start to go under. My right arm goes under my left. My right arm goes under my left, and I start to walk to my elbow. I take my left bicep and I lift his face. It's not a very nice movement, but it's very important to get under his jaw. We take our left bicep, lift his face, and we get under the chin. Grab my elbow, pull it across, and now I move my head to meet him on the other side. Take him back over to the right. You could put in a outside hook like so. Lock your body triangle. Throw your right arm across as deep as possible. You could use that dart throwing action. Fit in your hand for a strangle. And we lock it up. So lately I've noticed people are getting really good at escaping body triangles. Okay, you've got them in a body triangle, no matter how tight it is, your seatbelt's there, your body triangle's there, but they start to go into what's called belly down escapes, okay, or turning escapes, where they rotate over 2-3 times. They end up either in closed guard or bottom mount. Disaster, okay? How do we hold on to a guy's body? Number one, obviously, we've got a seatbelt, but a big part of the control when you've taken a guy's back is done with your legs. Okay, it's done with your lower body in unison with your upper body. So your seatbelt's important, obviously, but I think the grip you have on the guy with your legs can be even more valuable in terms of how much control and how much restriction you're doing to the guy's movements. So, taking the guy's back here. Now, what you want to understand, okay, for strangling, let's say we just have two hooks. If I have a right seatbelt, when I want to set my right arm for a strangle, I need to have a deep right hook. If I have a shallow right hook, it's going to be very difficult to get my right arm long enough to get my strangle. So I need to deepen my right hook. And now see here, I could get my right arm way longer. I set my strangle. And then once my strangle is set, then I do the job of squaring up, pulling my elbow back with the strangle, obviously cementing a really good submission. So that being said, it's very similar with when you have hooks to when you have that body triangle. So let's move a bit here. All right, we sit flat. Okay. What I want is first to have a long body triangle and then shorten up that body triangle leg. So I make it long, lock, and then pull it back. So we're here. I have my seatbelt. He's got his hands in. I make my body triangle long. I bridge, lock, and now as I fall back, it's a very subtle movement. But as I fall back, I make sure my right foot is curled back. I don't leave my shoelaces dangling like so. I make sure my foot is locked properly behind my knee. And now I feel his rib cage here between my two thighs. Okay, I feel the guy's floating rib on my right thigh and his other side of his rib cage here on my left quad. Okay, so we can lock it up properly. And now here, really, you can ask the guy, like, it should be quite easy to hold on to. And once you have this tight body triangle grip, you're able to move him around way easier without relinquishing any control. Okay, I could get him up and off my right hand and come all the way up for an arm switch. Okay, without this, for example, this is a bad body triangle. We're loose here. Now, if I try to move him one way or another, there's so much slack that I make a movement. I use my muscles to move. I'm doing a lot of movement. He's not really moving. He's not really going anywhere. Now, if I take my hand out, his shoulders are free to move, his hips are free to move, it's going to be a disaster. And you're using much more of your musculature to hold on to the guy. So you're going to get tired a lot faster. So practice this. You sit here, okay? You have foot to foot first. You want to lift the guy up, kick your right foot across, lock low right at his far hip, and then you bring him back, all right? You bring him back and you adjust. You tighten up that body triangle. Don't leave it here. Don't leave it dangling at the edge of your foot there. Hold on tight. You curl look at my left foot. I curl out and then I drag it in. My foot goes out and then in. So I walk up my right shin. My foot goes out and then in. You'll know you got this right when you can easily hold on, constrict the guy's breathing, and pretty much get a submission. Obviously in drilling it's going to be a lot easier, but if you can get that down, you're going to have a much more successful time hand fighting because you can control the guy's body movements much more effectively. So that being said, last time here, really good drill. You want to understand torso control. Okay, you start with a foot to foot. You get your leg long. Okay, you lock here, and then you bring him back. Now you climb up your leg. You turn your left foot out. You point your right toes, and then you curl them back. So your right foot here is straight, pointed. Your left foot is pointed out. You touch your body triangle together, and then your right foot curls back, and your left foot curls in. This will allow you to squeeze a very tight body triangle. Also, what I'm doing is I'm taking my right hip back along the mat, so my bottom hip here slides back along the mat. Okay, now have a really good tight control here. Once you've gotten this position, you should practice moving the guy up so your chest faces the ceiling for that movement we needed to free our right arm. Okay, his hands are in defensively. I clear and I start to strangle, but his chin is down. Now the torso control is going to really help you with this position here when you need to free your right arm. Okay, We give a good bridge. And now see how it's so easy now to free my right arm? I have so much room to fight. I could hold on to the guy here without barely holding onto a seatbelt. So again, the value in this torso control for this specific arm switch is freeing your right arm. We're here, we go into the strangle, he comes up to the thumb line. Yeah, he pulls our hand down. I gotta get my right arm weightless. Okay, I can't extract my right arm here. He's gonna go to get us back to the mat. I bridge and then flip my right arm in, and then we get our arm strangle off an arm switch. So we're at the end of the road here. We've locked in our rear naked. We're gonna look at what to do to properly finish when you're under the jaw and when you're over the jaw. They're pretty similar, but slight differences. And there's obviously a lot of overlap that I think if you go through this checklist, you're gonna have a much easier time. Your arms are not gonna burn out. You're gonna be much less fatigued, and your squeeze is gonna take you a lot further on a guy who's got a good chin, good defenses. So we're in here. Let's just start artificially here again. What I spoke about before is as we set our strangle arm, if I'm strangling with my right, I take my right hook or my right hip, whatever it is, I put it deep so I could get my right arm long. The reason you want to get your right arm long is so you can lock behind his neck here. I can't lock a strangle here out in front of him. It's not really, you may get it, but it's definitely less successful, less reliable. You want to get your arm as long as possible so you can lock here behind his head. You put your knuckles, your secondary arm here behind his head, behind his skull. Okay, and to do that, you need your arm as long as possible so it can lock here, slipping in behind his skull. So once you do get your right arm long, considering we're strangling with our right arm here, and I lock my strangle, now it's not just about squeezing here. What I want to do is start to unwind my body. So I set my strangle. Now I want to take my right arm back. So now basically what I'm doing is I'm shortening my right arm. So I start here, let's say I start with the whatever seatbelt, I arm switch, I get my strangle set. Don't just squeeze here, it's not over. There's more you could do with the angle of your body here. Take your right arm back, okay? So you now have lengthened it to lock in your strangle. Now think about shortening it to finish your strangle. And that goes for the same if you're over his chin. So if you're here, you lock over his chin. You move your head out of the way. Same thing. There's just less of a movement. We just have to shorten our arm. So let's see that when we're on the guy's back. We're in here. Let's back a bit here. All right. So let's go body triangle. We've got our tight body triangle. We threaten the left arm strangle. He gets up to our arm here, exactly. We bridge, and we get our right arm set as long as possible. We lock in our strangle. Now, what I recommend you do, go through this checklist. Take a deep breath so your lungs are filled, okay? It's gonna take up more space in your rib cage behind his back. And now you start to turn down towards the mat. So what am I doing here? I'm shortening my right arm. Don't go here and then put all your effort into squeezing. If you're under the jaw, it's probably gonna work, but there's much more you could do. Let's say he's got his fingers in here, in my wrist, yeah. Okay, I have it locked up. I breathe, don't squeeze here. Turn, try to get your eyes looking forward, the same direction he is. Don't finish here where your eyes are up in that direction and his eyes are down, okay? You wanna breathe and look forward. Okay, you relock your body triangle and see how I'm pulling my right arm back? Yeah, I'm shortening my right arm. This is what my right arm is doing. I'm bridging and I'm shortening my right arm. Obviously, you keep it locked. All right, so that's under the jaw. Same thing really if you're over the jaw. You just have less movement, okay? Go here, you threaten that strangle. He gets up. All right, we lock a body triangle, bridge, and we're over the jaw this time. All right, so I lock and I make sure my hand here is under my chin. Okay, oftentimes I'll throw my arm in. He has chins down, tight. I'll move my chin out of the way and I'll push my wrist down with my chin. All right, now, again, we push our wrist down, breathe, lock, and then again, We pull our elbow back and we look in the same direction as him. We start off looking out in this direction. He's looking down that way. As we finish, we look in the same direction as him. Okay, I'm keeping my head up high just so I can speak. But what it looks like is this, if his chin's down. Okay, we're here. We move our chin. And then I use my chin to jam my wrist lower down his skull. I breathe in and I start to retract. I hip in and I pull my right elbow back and my right hip back. Bridge in, look in the same direction. You're gonna get a much better strangle efficiency. So the effort you put into your strangle is gonna take you much further if you actually align yourself with him. You try and get your eyes in the same direction as him. You start long with your right arm. If you're strangling with your right arm, you start with it long, you lock it up either under the chin or over the chin. You use your chin here to jam your hand lower down his skull, and then you breathe in and you slow squeeze, retracting, shortening your arm, getting an efficient strangle. Just to recap, that was my basic strangles, arm switch strangles, to more complicated arm switch setups if the guy's got a good chin, good defenses. I really hope you guys enjoyed. It's been working out well for me. If you guys want to see more of those strangle setups in detail, check out my BJJ Fanatics DVD. It's the first one I ever made. I'll be making another one down the road, but I think that was the most important one for me so far. I think the back attacks I've put in that DVD are really sort of detailed in my style, so I don't think there are really much else versions of those out there, so be sure to check them out. Be sure to check out the rest of the YouTube videos. I do these strangles live in a lot of the rounds out there in the mats and out there in the competition scene, so be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks for watching.